Hi, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about MatCaps and how you can use them creatively for your final renders. If you've ever worked in MatCap mode, which I almost guarantee you have, so yeah, you're looking at a MatCap right now. The lighting feels like I spent a ton of time on it, and that's because the person who made this did a great job of this. I didn't create this. I found a lot of free ones on the internet, and I zipped them up, and there's close to 700 in this zip file. I zip them up and put them in the description. It's free to download. Please download it. I'm going to show you how to install these. There's two methods, because if you're crazy enough to try to upload all 700, go for it. I'm going to show you two methods. There's a more stable one that I think will work if you want to do all 700. I did like 25 or so. And that method you can do directly in Nomad, and you should be fine. So let's talk about maybe your first experience with MatCaps. When you start a file, you might be working in something that looks more like this in MatCap mode. So if you come up here to this scene menu, the shading menu, you can see that I'm in MatCap mode here. There are four others. There's lit, unlit, and ID. So lit would be where you'd come in and you'd set up your own physical lights. Like you can do spotlights. You can add like a 3-point lighting system. You can have environment maps, and you can rotate those environment maps. In unlit, it's unlit. It'll sort of work like just a glowing light. It's unlit. That's all it is. ID is like, if you've ever worked in other programs, it's almost like face groups now, but its ID creates colors for every piece of unique geometry. So you can see I have gray torso and gray legs. That's because it's actually one piece of geometry. So this is very useful for selections. If you were to export this out and bring it into Photoshop and want to do some specific manipulation to just one area, you could do a color selection and then easily make that mask and then do some adjustments. It's fun to look at because even in 3D, you get like this, weird flat look. Who knows? There's probably some art piece reason that you could just stay in ID mode. But I think the reason it exists is so that people can make selections easier when they're doing like post work. So that's the 4 shading modes. In MatCap mode, I love working in this clay default one. It helps me at any angle. I have great lighting. You might think that there is some environment map or some lighting. MatCaps are short for material capture. And these MatCap 2D images, which is what you're looking at when you look at this is a 2D image, even though it looks very 3D. That is 2D emulating the look of 3D. It's just a PNG. It's a square. And in the center, it's often spherical looking on purpose, because the reason why this lighting looks so good is because there's highlights and shadows. And if we look back at this, there's specular highlights right here. There's a little white dot. And then there's even rim lighting. And if you look at this, when I start to rotate, you can see the specular highlight and then the rim lighting happening on his shoulder. And you can rotate the lighting just like an environment map. If I come up here to my shading menu and I use the rotation slider here, this will let me play with this sort of faux lighting. In lit PBR mode, you can also pick different environment maps that light your model very differently. So you saw in this one, it completely changed the color because there's a lot of amber glow within this photo. There's a green glow. What an environment map is, it's as if you were standing inside of a sphere, and on the inside of the sphere, somebody painted the sky blue above you and brown for the earth below your feet. That light source would cast lighting onto you, just like it's doing here. When you rotated that environment like this, the places where there was bright white and the places where there's black, those shadows and highlights would also rotate. So in that way, it is like a MatCap. You can also rotate those highlights and shadows. So this gummy bear, it's not actually clear. I could do this a more traditional way. Go to lit PBR, and then I could start applying things like blending or refraction, additive, subsurface. I could start adding these material to the body to create this clear looking gummy body. This MatCap, it is a MatCap on this gummy bear, has faked subsurface scattering on it. So let me select it, go to it. So you can see there's a glow. There's a strong white circle highlight. There's some darker area inside. There's this underglow of green, which is the subsurface scattering thing. And it's very realistic because as I rotate, it's not baked onto my model. The glow actually feels like it's rotating with the bear, the gummy bear. And when I rotate, you can see all these changes. This gummy bear actually looks like there's light passing through it. It's all tricking the mind that this is actually clear. It's not. It's just an image being wrapped around these models. So I'm able to get 2 different MatCaps on each of these models. By default, if I were to select the gummy bear, which I think I do have selected, and you look down here, we have this use global MatCap. I have it unchecked, and that's what's allowing me to have a different MatCap material for my gummy bear. If I check this box, it's going to adopt what's on my other character, Skulldrog here. So you can see now, I've turned that off. Now they're both in sync because they're using the global. So now when I go to add, so this will be, I think, the default for you if you haven't done this before. So now if I apply a thing, you may want it this way. And I change the lights. So the way to get around this is the way to apply multiple MatCaps is it has to be a unique piece of geometry. So the gummy bear is one solid piece of geometry. If I tap on Skulldrog, you can see I have all these individual pieces. Each of those unique pieces of geometry could have their own MatCap. So I just need to select a piece. I'll select this body. I need to come up here, but I have to uncheck this box every time I want to be unlinked from the global. So now that there's no check there, I could come in here and turn on this. I can go into my gummy bear and turn back on, uncheck that and turn that. And those will never be linked again until I go back there and specifically choose. So the global one is still this sort of like chromed metallic thing that's on his face, Skulldrog's face. These are 2 characters that I made. Obviously, Gummy Bear is just emulating a gummy bear, but this character is just someone I made that's meant to look like the He-Man toys that I love. There's a little bit of Skeletor, a little bit of Beastman, and Trapjaw, all working together to make this guy. He's sort of like a Nordic Viking Skeletor with with a gummy bear sidekick. No, two different projects, but I didn't fully finish him. He's missing a lot on his like Trapjaw arm, and didn't do any of his like legs and waist. So I'm gonna get there. Just thought it would be cool. So I showed you that you can rotate the lighting by coming down here and doing this. So if I was zoomed out like this and I went to change the lighting, it's not helpful. So this rotation can be mapped to a gesture. If you come over here to this icon and then you switch over to the gesture tab and then you scroll down to 3-finger. So under this section, you can see rotate lighting. If you set, I think it might be by default set to this, but if you had for some reason turned it off, here you can set it to either 3 fingers dragging left and right or 3 fingers dragging up and down. So I have it set to left and right. So now I can just do 3-finger tap on my screen and drag. And this is much more effective for me to figure out the lighting that I like. So the caveat is, even though you can unlink and have multiple MatCaps on different parts of your model, there is only one universal lighting control, the rotation control. So it's at the scene level, not at the object geometry level, unfortunately. I wish I could unlink my rotation because that would be very useful. So right now, the way that I see it working is if you liked Skulldrog's lighting right here, but you didn't like how the gummy bear's lighting was, I would say you'd have to do a render and then change the lighting on the gummy bear. Change the lighting on the gummy bear to whatever you like, and then render again. And then you'll have to use some kind of photo editing tool to composite the two together. Unfortunately, that's how I see it. I would love to hear if there's a better or method that will allow me to do both. So that's the basics of it. This, I'm really loving anything that looks like translucent plastic. That's like, it totally looks awesome and really sells it well. So yeah, I thought this would be fun. Like obviously if you're doing a gummy bear, so you might be thinking, yes, I love the gummy bear thing, but right now I can only do green. Can I paint or shift the color of that? Yes and no. I would say that it's not going to be very effective. So the way that you would normally paint something would just be to engage the paint tool right here. And then down here in the bottom left, You can tap on here. I could pick a color so you can see it is skewing the color. A better selection would be, let me select his body. And here I want, here I want blue for his body. So I'm going to select, you can see right here, this is the color I want. I want this aqua blue color. If you look over at what's happening on Sculpt for the preview, it's green. If you look above here too, it's green up here. The reason for that is it's always going to blend the color that you're picking for the paint with the color of the MatCap. The MatCap is this honey yellow color, this orange amber, and that's being blended with the color that you select here. So teal mixed with that amber color is going to give you that sort of emerald look. So that is the limitation. The caveat there would be is if you chose a MatCap, let me close this. If you had a MatCap and that MatCap was mostly white, like this one, that is a scenario that will work out for you. So now I can come down to my paint. This is my paint menu. Let me close the MatCap. Now look at the color that I've chosen. It's being truly reflected on my model. And if I were to paint it, even though the MatCap is applied, it's white. So there's no influence of another color. It's going to be the true color that you select here. Doesn't matter, purple, paint all, it's going to be that color. It only works with white, unfortunately. So this gummy bear, you might think, yes, that's perfect. I want to do that. I want to make a whole bag of gummy bears. I want all the different colors that they have. I want the yellow and the red. So all these other colors, can I shift the MatCap for that one? The same thing is the same issue will be true of everything. It's going to be the same here. I can go to my paint tool. I can select another color. I want the red one. You're thinking to yourself right now, no, it is working. Yes and no, depending on how deep of a red you go. And if I paint all, it could be red. If I go blue, it's still going to have that green in it. So it's dominantly green. You're still blending. The way that I see it is you're going to need to go into the folder, that my zip file that I gave you, grab the PNG, bring it into Procreate or Photoshop or whatever photo editing tool you have, and just do a hue saturation, just the hue, to make new MatCaps for yourself of all the colors that you want. That to me would be the easiest and fastest way. And you'd get the most accurate color that you want that way, because here you're blending colors. So you bring in however many gummy bear colors there are, all 5 different colors as different PNG MatCaps, and import them, then you're golden. And that's the way I would do it. That's it. That's the basics of it. But you can be very creative. I did say that I would show you how to import all of them, and that's simple. If you want to go through the Nomad way, you would just hit import. You can go to your files or photos. I had them in my photos folder, so I already have them in an album, and you can just select the ones that you like. Or you can tap, drag, select, 700 of them, and then just hit add. The warning here is this is maybe not the way to go if you want to do big batches like that. Nomad is going to throw you an error at some point. It did for me. So if you just wanted to bring in batches of 20 or 30, totally fine. Do it this way, select them all, hit the add button, and then they will show up here. You may not even have to restart Nomad. If you want to do it the second way, just going to save real quick. And then if you want to do it the other way, I would suggest you just completely close Nomad and open your Files app. I apologize to Android users. I don't have an Android tablet, so I'm just giving you my experience on the iPad. We have the Files app. So if you have ones that you either downloaded on your Mac computer or wherever, get them over to the Photos app on your iPad, and that's where you start. And then within the Files app, if you look on the left-hand side here, we have locations. I have like iCloud Drive, on my iPad Drive. Go to on my iPad, and if you look down the list, you'll find that I have Nomad here. So I can just tap on that. You can see in the top right here, I have MatCaps. There's a folder MatCaps. And there's all the ones that I imported personally. So they're here from having imported them through the Nomad app. If you have 700 that you want to bring in here, you would just find a way to put them in this folder. And the way that you do that on the iPad would be get them into your photos, like bring them over from your Mac into your photos, select them all. So because I have them all in an album already, when I hit select all, look at the bottom here, 695 photos selected. I would then, now that I have them all selected, tap the share button in the bottom left corner, scroll in this menu down to save to files. It did a preparation thing, opened up this menu. Now I'm back at the same files. So you just tap on my iPad, scroll down till you find Nomad. There's Nomad. Scroll down, or I don't have to because MatCaps is right there. And then the only thing left for me to do is just hit the save button on the top right here. It's going to bring in, Nomad's not even open right now. It's going to bring them all into this folder. And what's useful about that is you would have to probably relaunch Nomad anyways. So the fact that it's closed is useful because now when you open it and you come into your MatCap, you're going to see 700. I mean, that's insanity to do because who even wants to search through that many? But they'll all be there, I think. I hope Nomad will support that many, but you can let me know. I don't know that I'm going to try to put them all in there. But they would be here under here, and you can use them all. I'll probably just spend just a moment here at the end because I think I'm wrapping up. There's not a whole lot to talk about beyond this. It's just showing you some of the other ones. Here's a base one that you get. Oops. The reason why it's so weird is because we had painted. Let's paint all. Okay, now it's black again. Or sorry, the base colors. The paint was white. So here, pretty cool. Let's zoom in a little bit like this. I picked some of the more interesting ones. This one's just a nice glossy. What I like about a lot of these is that sort of highlight that's happening right there. So here, let's tap on. Here, there's sort of a horizon line in the environment around it. Really cool. This hot lava looking thing. There's the gummy bear one. This really nice matte black with a little bit of a warm light. This one's just crazy. Just thought I'd throw it in there. If you're looking for some crazy effect like that, that's pretty cool. Yep, just a real hard, shiny plastic. These soft ones, that's actually a nice pairing right there. They're using the same colors, obviously. This is a nice metallic chrome kind of thing. Also loving that. And then this is the one that we're currently using. This one has this like light streak down the center. Come here, you can see that sort of beam of light across the middle. It's kind of cool. As you rotate, you can see it paint on. That's pretty neat. Yeah, these are all included in my zip file. Another chrome crazy one. These are all things that were sort of floating around the internet as free to download. Feel free to make your own. The only requirement is you have a square canvas. You create a spherical looking, like these are harder than others because this requires you to understand, the look of something that's clear, but don't feel bad. I mean, not that I'm saying, this is a real useful one, but somebody just came in here and used black and white. There's almost no reflection, they're not making it look shiny. But some of these softer ones, you do have to have sort of like highlight and shadow. That's what really brings to life most of these is the effect that it's actually a sphere that one's really cool. So yeah, if you are so inclined and you have that creative mind that can paint something to look that real, or if you use a 3D tool to generate these, because you can clearly, the only requirement is the output has to be a square canvas and a circle in the center. So you can use another 3D tool to generate these. If you're on PC, I found that there was, I think it's like Ben Simon. There's a 3D or a MatCap generator for PC. I don't have a PC, so if you have it, try it out. But I think there's just a tool that has a bunch of parameters and you can just keep playing with it to your liking. And don't forget, you can add textures in here. Anything I paint in here into the MatCap will show up there. I'm trying to think if I have one. I think this one has sorta. I think someone had painted on some detail work. But if you have rust textures, those will all come through. I mean, it's essentially whatever you want. So play with it. I think it gets overlooked because there's not like dramatic ones in the default Nomad MatCaps, but like this would be an amazing render, and then you'd bring in like fire effects, like if there was like a cauldron of fire lighting him from below. Yeah, it's a very inspiring, creative, fun thing to play with, especially like, when you can get this level of lighting happening. I hope you had fun playing with this and you download my thing and try them out. I think I'll call it here. Thanks for watching. I think I'll call it there, but thank you for watching. Keep making things, and I'll see you next time.